Oprah Winfrey. She educates. I mean, every night I'm on here, in my own sort of way, I try to educate and teach people what I know to tell them what I know. Every time Oprah goes on television, she not only sympathizes with the human predicament of everybody, regardless of race or class or age, she also tries to leave everybody that hour, at the end of the hour, knowing something they didn't know before. Right? Raise their horizons, raise their knowledge level. And that's what she does. And here she is out on the campaign trail telling people something they don't know, how great Obama is. I mean, it's really amazing.
Well, the polls show that she doesn't have that much of an effect. I don't believe it.
Well, in terms of turnout, I got to believe it.
But especially in a place like Iowa, which is family-oriented, which is word of mouth, which is one person talking to the next person, which is this very public act in the Democratic caucuses of standing up and going to the corner of the room to say who you're for, that kind of thing, I think, is perfect form for Obama.
You know, you test this one, it's real simple.
I mean,
would Hillary like to have her endorsing her?
Oh, of course she would.
See? Would Rudy Giuliani like to have her? Look at it. Look at how great she looks.
That's why Hillary's going to have Bill Clinton out there, you know, between now and New Year's repeatedly.
Okay, that's a great question. How does Hillary use Bill, a brilliant politician, a brilliant man, in many ways a very good president, with obvious flaws? How does she use him to her advantage without looking like she desperately needs him?
Because Bill Clinton has been there in the White House, has faced down crisis, and he can make the point that Hillary was here as well, and she knows what can be done and cannot be done. The one thing Oprah cannot do, but Oprah Chris
his experience with her. How does he say to the cynics, skeptics like Obama, hey, you weren't Secretary of the Treasury. You know, Bob Rubin was. You weren't Secretary of State. Madeleine Albright was.
I ran every decision by my wife before I made them. She traveled to 100 countries.
Is he going to say that?
Of course he will. Because the one thing that Oprah Winfrey cannot do is Oprah Winfrey can get people to come watch Obama, but she can't say, hey, I know what it's like in Washington in the Oval Office, and this is the kind of experience
he's going to do for her what Eisenhower wouldn't do for Nixon. Say he shared some decisions with her. He's actually going to say that although she had no constitutional authority, I let her help me make decisions.
He's going to have to do it because Obama, who's a very good counterpuncher, is developing into one at least, said, you know, let's see. Tell us exactly what she did. But essentially, Obama has challenged Bill Clinton to do that. And
okay,
Bill Clinton better do it.
Credit for NAFTA?
That's a very good question.
Is he going to give her credit for welfare reform in the Democratic Party, which they despise?
Another very good question. Once he starts...
How about for all the capital punishment he executed? How about that guy who was retarded down in Arkansas he executed? Is he going to say, Hillary advised me to do that? I mean, is he going to share the blame, too?
Well, that's the trap that Hillary is going to be drawn into, because Bill Clinton is going to have to testify to her experience. He's going to have to tell vivid stories as only Bill Clinton can. And when he does that, not only does he bring up that other list that you mentioned, welfare reforms, things that Democrats won't like, it's going to bring up the question of what else was going on in the Clinton White House during those years. In other words, Hillary loses control of the story of the Clinton years. She's had it unchallenged until recently. It's amazing how quickly it's turned.
Except to the point that people think, okay, we're in this post-9/11 era, and we need somebody to protect us who has been through this before, who knows what the governmental power can do and what Congress can do and what they can't do.
In a minute, I want to get to this, Tom. Let's take a look at Fred Thompson this weekend. He was on Chris Wallace's show, which is doing very well on Sunday on Fox broadcast. Here he is taking a shot at the host, my friend Chris Wallace. We'll talk about whether that's fair or not. I am not a media critic, Chris, so let's just watch this thing.
This has been a constant mantra of Fox, to tell you the truth. And I saw the promo for this bill, and I think it was kind of for this show, and it was kind of featuring the New Hampshire poll. Let's put things in context a little bit to start with.
I don't know that Fox has been going after you, and I certainly don't think Charles Krauthammer and Fred Barnes.
From day one, they said I got in too late. I couldn't do it.
There were a lot of people besides Fox who said that.
But I'm up to, well, these are the two you used.
Right.
All right. Well, they said I got in too late, couldn't do it, that wouldn't raise enough money, and that sort of thing. And that's their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. But that doesn't seem to be shared by the cross-section of American people. If you look at the national polls, you'll see that I'm running second, have been running second for a long time. I'm running ahead of a guy who's spent probably $50 million more than I have and been running for a year longer. If you look in South Carolina, I've either been leading or tied for the lead for a long time. I moved from 4th to 3rd in Iowa, ahead of Rudy Giuliani, incidentally. So, you know, they're entitled to their opinion, but for you to highlight nothing but the negative in terms of these polls, and then put on your own guys who've been predicting for 4 months, really, that I couldn't do it, you know, kind of skews things a little bit. There's a lot of other opinion out there. National Review that
you know anybody who thinks you've run a great campaign?
It's not for me to come here and try to convince you that somebody else thinks that I've run a great campaign.
Well, that's why I'm
talking about, you know,
I'm just asking you the question.
You mentioned conservatives. Would you say National Review was a conservative magazine and a conservative?
As are Fred Barnes and Charles Krauthammer.
They said, well, that just goes to show you there's more than one opinion.
Absolutely.
You're showing one, I'm giving you the other.
I guess National Review likes it, but Chris Wallace doesn't. No, I thought that was a great comeback by Chris, my colleague, because he did say, do you know anybody who thinks you've done a great job running this campaign? Because nobody does.
No, nobody does. And that was a good retort. But I thought that...
It gets him back in the action. Is this going to be one of those George Bush, Dan Rather moments?
I thought he did a good job. And, of course, the next question is, if Fred Thompson thinks that Fox is against him and has been from the beginning, why?
Yeah, why?
Why?
They should share values. Anyway, thank you, Howard Fineman. Thank you, David Schuster.